Hello Guardians and welcome back. Iron Banner has come and gone for the first time this season, and it went a lot better than last season according to Bungie. But does this mean that Iron Banner is in a good place? Well, stick around because I'm going to talk about how the Iron Banner is doing right now, if players are happy with it, and some much needed changes that we need to see coming up. If you aren't interested in the current state of Iron Banner and you just want to see some huge changes that need to happen in this game, skip to the timecode here. But other than that, let's get into it. I'm sure many of you Destiny 1 veterans remember jumping into Iron Banner for the first time and experiencing Saladin encouraging you on instead of Lord Shaxx, and how exciting it was to chase those S-tier weapons and that flaming armor you just couldn't get anywhere else. Light level and player level were enabled, so in order to do well you needed to put on your best gear, and the overall experience was fresh, and just no other game was doing something quite like this at the time. It just had a good feeling, and it was like that for a while, but sadly it just kept staying the same over and over and over again. And then we started to lose things like light level advantage, and the new weapons weren't all that great. And now we're at its current state where it's essentially the same thing that it was in D1, but it's 8 years later and it's just not keeping up with the current PvP atmosphere that we want to see. With weapons currently, unless you're super lucky, you're probably not going to get the god roll that you want, no matter how many times you focus an engram. And the level cap is disabled, so there's no point in putting on your best gear. The overall fashion has declined. We've gone from monthly Iron Banners to twice a season. Weapons people love are rotating out of the loot pool, and all this together just makes the experience feel dry and deters a lot of people. Many people don't even bother playing Iron Banner unless there's a must-have weapon in the loot pool. Last week in the TWAB, Bungie announced that their player count was pretty consistent throughout the whole week, which is something they don't normally see. They usually see a spike on the first day and then the weekend, but with Eruption, things just went a little smoother. And they also made some steps in the right direction a few seasons ago, but we're still not at that huge event level that Bungie wants and that the community wants to see. Back in May of this year, Bungie said they wanted Iron Banner to feel more like an event when you entered the tower, so they moved Lord Saladin to the center of the tower, so when you spawn in, you literally can't miss him. Well, that's great and all, but it hardly changes the Iron Banner experience at all. They also gave Lord Saladin the new vendor treatment, so we could focus engrams and get exactly what we wanted just from playing the game for a little while. And this right here is the single greatest change Iron Banner has had in its entire lifespan. So thank you, Bungie, because as I'm sure many of you know, it was incredibly frustrating to watch 1,000 or 2,000 Iron Banner coins go right into like armor and just weapons you don't care about and never even receive a single roll of a weapon you do want. They also changed the game mode, added new challenges, and an Iron Lord title. Now look, I think most of these changes are really great. And I think that adding a seal was perfect for hardcore players, especially those who really just want to be a completionist. But these things came at a cost. Iron Banner went from every single month to just 2 weeks of the season, making it hard for casual players to reset their rank and go for any Iron Banner gear that they really want. Personally, I just don't get this. Bungie wants new players to feel included and to raise their player counts. So a while ago, they removed the level advantage so anybody could just jump into Iron Banner whenever they want. That makes sense. But then they go and remove the amount of time a player has when playing Iron Banner by removing one of the weeks each season. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. A casual player doesn't have 20 hours during Iron Banner week to play, which is essentially what it takes you to reset your rank and get the gear you want. But moving up to last week, things kind of got better because we got a new game mode called Eruption, which is way better than Rift was when it initially launched last season. When Rift was initially released, it was very buggy, and most matches ended with a team that absolutely steamrolled the other. I've never put so little time into an Iron Banner. But now we have Eruption, and it's like classic team deathmatch, but when you're on a kill streak, you have to keep killing as fast as you can so you can extend your timer before you explode. And as I'm sure many of you can agree, this feels a lot better than Rift ever did. Even Bungie agreed, saying that their numbers for this game mode were better than last season's game mode, so that's a good plus. And I hope Bungie's learned their lesson from this to never bring us back to Rift again. I mean, please don't put us back in that hell ever again, Bungie. Okay, so essentially I've just been bagging on Iron Banner and explaining why it's in such a lackluster state. But let's focus on the good now. How can Iron Banner return to its former glory? How can we get that feeling that you got when you first loaded up the game in D1 and jumped into your first Iron Banner? Well, let's take a look at Trials. Now just hold on a second. I know not a lot of people love Trials, but let's just take a look at it real quick. This is the height of competitive PvP in Destiny, and I think Iron Banner needs to take a few notes from this. First of all, why do players keep coming back to Trials? Well, it's competitive and mainly the weapons. So first of all, Bungie, you need to stop rotating the meta weapons out of the Iron Banner loot pool. Look at the numbers and say, okay, so these 2 weapons are the ones with like the lowest usage rate. So take those ones out of the loot pool, buff them, and then bring them back later. You don't need to take the weapons that we currently love and take them out, like the Multimac. Like, it was an S tier SMG, and it was just taken out of the loot pool. And now most of the Iron Banner weapons just, I don't even want to grind for them because I don't care too much about them. I mean, can you imagine an Iron Banner loot pool filled with some of the best weapons in the game? It would feel like D1 again, and the amount of time a player would need to put in to get all the god rolls would go way up. So that's better numbers for Bungie. Second, and I think this is a really big one, is the fashion. For a lot of people, fashion is the true endgame of Destiny, or that's just the meme that people like to say. And it's pretty controversial with Iron Banner specifically. Some people love the Iron Banner sets, and some people just hate them. But I believe the best way to go about this is to keep bringing in those new Iron Banner sets with the different themes, like the Viking and the Samurai and all that. But we only get one Iron Banner set a year. So how about halfway through the year, we bring back an old D1 armor set that you can earn on top of the new armor set? I think just bringing back these old D1 sets would be a nice refresh, and it would just bring some nostalgia back to chase for those veteran players specifically, and it would be like new content to newer players. And I mean, Destiny 1 had some pretty sick Iron Banner sets. I mean, Bungie, please bring back that wolf cloak for the hunters. Like, that was the coolest cloak I've ever seen. Okay, lastly, and this is where I believe Iron Banner could make a full comeback, it's an adept weapon system. Trials has passages and the lighthouse, and I think Iron Banner needs a very similar treatment. Iron Banner needs to be halfway between casual, crucible, and trials. Enter the Iron Lord passages. Just like Trials passages, we have something for Iron Banner specifically. It doesn't have to be as intense as getting a flawless streak, but it could be something similar. For example, we could have a passage called Passage of Aphrodite, and it's a series of challenges, or one fairly difficult challenge, and upon completion you get to go back to Felwinters Peak, just like the Lighthouse, and claim an adept Iron Banner weapon. I mean, the ability to go back to Felwinters Peak alone would make so many people happy. To be able to see the Iron Wolves, and to be able to do the mountain parkour again, I mean, it would just be beautiful, really. Now, Trials is every weekend, so the rotation of adept weapons is easier to get through, but with Iron Banner, you need to allow players to go back to Felwinters Peak a few times each Iron Banner event. So if there's 8 Iron Banner weapons, you make half of them adept, and each one of those could be attached to a specific Iron Lord passage. And on top of all this, each Iron Banner passage you could complete could give you like a different colored glow or flame for that week. Just like how Trials has glowing armor, you could have like a green flame instead of an orange flame if you complete the Passage of Aphrodite, or a blue flame, or whatever color, it doesn't really matter. But this would give players something to chase and something to make their Guardian look cool for the week after Iron Banner or the week during Iron Banner, whatever it is. I think if Bungie made these changes, Iron Banner would be seen in a new light. So now I'm talking directly to Bungie. So if for some weird reason some Bungie dev is watching, or someone who knows a Bungie dev is watching and can get this to a Bungie dev or whatever, in any capacity, if Bungie could see this, I think these changes would make Iron Banner so good and bring it back to its former glory. So go ahead, take these ideas, implement them into your game, do whatever you want with them. I just want to see the game get better and grow and make players happy and make them want to jump into Iron Banner for fun and not have to see it as like a grindy, gross process. Well, Guardians, I've poured my heart into this video and I love Iron Banner. It's just sad to see it in such a low place right now. And I hope this video makes some changes, but if not, I hope you know that there is a better, brighter Iron Banner out there just waiting to be implemented into the game. So thank you so much for watching, and if you found this video entertaining or useful or whatever, hit that subscribe button and leave a like down below. Let me know what you think of it in the comments, and as always, have a wonderful day.